having difficulties to poop, aka constipation, then in this episode you will learn on how to poop and feel relief every day. Hi, this is Zia and this is
Kamana, and welcome to Holistic Nomads TV,
where ancient wisdom and modern science can help you to have more clarity and energy in your life. So, Kimo, this is a very special episode. We're going to talk about poop.
Oh, I'm excited.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
So, before we go through the first 8 home remedies about constipation, can you tell us more about what is constipation? What's the definition of it?
There's a few different definitions. The Western medical definition is usually associated with not going to the toilet every day. So having a bowel movement at least once every day, and then that's okay from the Western perspective. From an Ayurvedic perspective, it's a little bit more extreme. They're aiming to have a bowel movement within 1 hour of waking up each day. And it's not necessarily classified as constipation if you don't, but it's classified as we still need to work on that. It is not at the point that is ideal and efficient and best for your body's functions unless you are removing waste products within an hour of waking.
Yeah, which is understandable because the purpose of Ayurveda is to prevent disease from even happening in the first place. Not that that's the purpose. It's like it's much easier to do that. Which is why if you haven't pooped probably in the first hour of waking up, then we need to treat that from the very beginning before it develops.
Your body's reabsorbing toxins and things from it staying inside the system. You feel much lighter and fresher and ready to get into the new day if you remove waste products.
Yeah. One quick question. What's the ideal frequency of pooping?
Each day?
Yeah, for a person.
This depends on the person. There's no specific for everyone. At least one movement every day within the first hour of waking can be fine. Me having a little bit more pitta, more fire, more heat, I tend to have 2, sometimes 3 movements over the day. But someone with a lot more vata, yourself, 1 movement in the morning can be totally fine. That can be great. As long as you're not feeling like, oh, I'm still bloated, I'm still backed up, and it was just a few little rabbit pellets or something. You want to have a nice, good feeling of evacuation in the morning.
Human pellets, not rabbit pellets.
No, as long as it's not
I get it.
Looks like rabbit pellets. Yeah.
Okay, so next we are going to talk about the 2-step treatment, which is the first one. Is always important in Ayurveda to understand what is the root cause, and after this we are going to talk about the first 8 home remedies. So the first one, the root cause, we are dividing that into 2 categories. The first one is lifestyle and mindset, and then the food. So can you tell us a bit more about the mindset and the lifestyle?
So I always try to start my treatment at mindset and lifestyle. I think it's some of the most powerful influences, and Ayurveda agrees on this front. We look at how the person lives and what they're thinking to be primary. And when it comes to constipation, in Ayurveda we have a concept of these 5 winds in the body, these 5 directions of movement. They relate to the nervous system to a higher degree. They relate to the nervous system's intelligence to control body functions. So one of these 5 winds is known as Apana Vata, Apana Vayu, and it lives within the hips, the colon, the bladder, the sacrum, this lower hips region of the body. And this Apana Vata is the intelligence which controls downward movement, detoxification, releasing from the body. It gets imbalanced when we get into like more a sympathetic upper nervous system state. When we activate the nervous system that's doing things up here more, it's bringing the energy up in the body, it's rising. So if we're like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, let's go and do this, yeah, wow, and excitement, or fear, worry, concern, I need to avoid this, all of these things will bring the vital force, the energy, the nervous system priority further up in the body. Whereas when we calm down, when we're relaxed, when we take things slowly, then we're more able to bring the energy down into the hips. There's more nervous system energy that allows us to use this part of the body. People would have experienced this in a traveling context. When we don't travel and when we're in routine, relaxed, repetition, there's more energy down in the apana. When we do travel, the energy rises up, it gets destabilized down here. People are much more likely to have constipation when they travel or when they wake in the morning and they're like, do this, that, I've got lots of things to do, then they often won't go to the toilet. So reducing stress, having a good routine, having a lifestyle that's less fear, less goals and activities, and more chill and, what am I going to do now? I'm going to relax between my peaks of intensity.
Yeah. It's so interesting because when I was in, high school time, when I was little, it's like a joke of like, if I stay over at someone's places and then I poop in their house, and my friend will say, oh, you're so comfortable in my house. It feels like at home, which is now, as I understand Ayurveda, it actually makes sense. That means I'm actually feeling grounded and at ease in other people's place, in my own body, that I can just pass my poop.
That's right. The more grounded and safe you feel, the more intelligence can go into the lower parts of the body.
Cool. So that's the first one from mindset and lifestyle perspectives.
Yep.
And what about from food? What causes constipation?
From food, I've broken it into 3 main groups here. So the first group is the astringent group. An astringent is one of the 6 medicinal tastes used in Ayurveda. And these 6 tastes give us a general understanding of the actions which a food would have. So an astringent taste is something that sort of puckers the mouth, that pulls the moisture out and tightens and draws it in. Most people would understand it from like an unripe banana. You eat an unripe banana and it's like sucks and draws the mouth in. But there's parts of these astringent tastes in many foods. From modern science, it sort of relates to tannins. Tannins are a molecule, a chemical, a nutrition component inside food, and they are coagulants. They make things stick together. They glue things, They make fluids clump, So they prevent bleeding and many things, yet in excess, they could also encourage the bowels not to move, encourage urine not to come out of the body. So it's always the right ratio. Astringents are great. They heal tissues. They encourage good structure on the tubes of our body, whether they be blood or digestion or everything. But in excess, they dry up those tubes and create constipation and blockage within the tube channels. So astringent foods that people might be aware of, tea and coffee are in that category. Now, although coffee is astringent, it also has a property that is laxative. So in the long run, it creates an addictive cycle to constipation. It astringes over time, yet at the time of taking it, it releases and bursts outwards. Legumes and beans also come under the astringent category, so really control the amount. If you're constipated regularly, it doesn't mean you can't have them. It means that you're going to need to reduce them back to like a few legumes amongst a soup, small amounts, making them easier to digest. And then we also have astringent vegetables, so cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cabbage and cauliflower. Most of the vegetable kingdom has some astringency as part of it. So we need to, when we're looking at vegetables to treat constipation, we need to look at which vegetables have the least astringency. And they're the ones that we will dominate the meal with. So food, first one, astringent foods. Second one, drying foods. Now, many of the foods that are astringent are also drying, yet some specific foods might not be astringent and drying. So, chili is an example. Chili is heating and drying to the body. It'll tend to dry out the digestive system, but its hot property will liquefy the stool. So again, it has this addictive component over time. It dries the internal environment, and without this hot, sharp property, we won't have a bowel movement as easily. The next one is most vegetables are generally drying. Most vegetables are diuretics. They encourage us to urinate more. And through that property of urinating more, it means the overall body fluids and fats usually become deficient. Most vegetables are not usually fat rich. So fats are how we lubricate the bowel. Again, I'm not saying not to eat vegetables. They're important. Or most people's diet should be dominant vegetables. We need to choose the vegetables, if constipation is an issue, that are not so drying in their nature, which I'll go into in a moment. So there are 3 categories of food.
Heavy foods?
Oh, one more to go. There you go. Thank you, my host.
You're welcome.
Our third category of food is thick, heavy food. So the type of constipation will usually change for thick, heavy foods. So far, we've been talking about more of a vata-dominant constipation, drier, deficient, astringing. These things are probably 80% of constipation cases. Whereas thick, heavy foods, the bowel movements will be a larger stool. There'll be a thick, heavy stool that'll feel more like blocked in some way. But when you have a movement, it'll be a larger, thick, heavy movement that comes out. So thick, heavy foods like meats, excess wheat and grains, these are very heavy properties. A lot of nuts in the diet. Having these without the counterbalance of light vegetables or light grains can mean that the stool becomes very compressed and hard and creates a thick, heavy stool too.
It's so interesting. You mentioned several food or substance that creates constipation because of the addiction cycle.
Yeah.
Like chili, for example. Yes, chili is helping that, but when you don't eat the chili, when the body so adapt to it, you become constipation. That's happened with me. Like for many years, if I don't eat chili, I just don't poop. And I knew someone, a friend of mine, that if she haven't had coffee in the morning, then she just can't poop at all. So it's just very interesting that some substance actually create constipation because of the addiction cycle.
There's many natural medicine treatments that are used for constipation that are actually addictive in the long run. I'm not going to be suggesting any of those in this class, because if I was, I'd want to know individuality. I'd want to make sure you're taking it for a very small window for a specific purpose. These classes are about the general thing that everyone could apply without creating much damage.
Quick thing before we talk about the first at-home remedies, as you talk about coffee, because often people say, oh, I've been feeling constipation, bloated, so I'm gonna go get coffee colonics. What do you think about that?
I think they can be a great clearing mechanism, and in the long run they can stimulate the nervous system and make the peristaltic action of the nervous system, that's the nervous system, how it moves things through the bowel, which happens predominantly when the nervous system is in a parasympathetic, calm nervous system state. It's why our lifestyle thing started first. We need our nervous system to be calm for it to send the energy to the internal organs and start to create that peristaltic motion. When we drink coffee, it stimulates peristalsis in a really intense way. And then in the future, we are needing a similar type of intense stimulation in order to get the bowels moving. If the person has a vata dominant imbalance, often the nervous system strength and stimulation is already low. So coffee gives a much higher threshold, and it's like, well, that's what I'm used to getting to have a bowel movement. So it can be great, one-off, twice, coffee colonic, but I would prefer an oil-based colonic as the long-term use.
Which is why in this first at-home remedy that you are going to share is something that is more sustainable options, something that create less side effects once you move out of that.
The home remedies that I'm about to go through now are like a staged approach from their pretty much no side effects, always going to create benefit for you, moving towards minimal side effects, still can be used as a regular treatment without damaging anyone.
And the first one is, of course, relate to the mindset and the lifestyle. And that is?
That's right. So our first one relates to having a nighttime and a morning routine. These are two of the most important times where we can adjust our nervous system. So before we're going to bed, ideally in this 9 to 10 p.m., 10:30 at the latest, is our nervous system calming time and going to bed. If we can get to bed in that time and have a nighttime routine of chamomile tea and calming nervous system drinks, licorice, these sorts of soothing down nervous system things, then our morning cycle is going to be that much easier. We're going to be able to wake earlier. The earlier that we wake, the closer we get to when the time the body would naturally prioritize colon energy. It prioritizes it around this 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. time. So even if you're waking at 7, you're still closer to where that colon time was than if you're waking much later. So the earlier we're getting up there, the more we're in this colon moving time, and we're able to get things, bowels moving. The next thing would be that you don't rush into your morning from there, that you allow yourself the time to be like, oh, I'm going to relax a little into my morning. I'm going to do a progression slowly.
Yeah. Next one.
Next one is a warm drink upon waking. So integrate that into the morning routine. When we have a warm drink in the morning, we stimulate all of our blood flow to open up, and that includes the bowels. Everything expands a little bit with that warmth, and that encourages the bowels to move easier. In a realistic sense, Zia and I have a brewed herbal tea that's a decoction, a boiling of different herbs, and that's put into a big thermos jug. So it's already warm, it's ready to go for the morning. We can just pour out some of that warm tea.
We made that the day before.
It's made the day before.
Yeah.
It's in the thermos ready to go.
Next one is my favorite one. And if you're Asian, you're lucky you already got this covered.
The next one is to squat with the heels on the ground. So something different happens when we activate our heel onto the ground. So, and it feels a stability that's there. So if we can bring a squat where we are bringing our knees right up towards our chest and we can have our heel on the ground, then we really stimulate this apana vata, this downward moving force and intelligence in the bowels. It often triggers a bowel movement for many people. So if it's not possible with your ankle mobility to get your heel on the ground, then I roll up a towel so that your heels are on the towel and the front of your foot is just off the towel, so you can still feel that grounded feeling. You want your heels on the ground and your hands on the ground in front of you. So you've got this compressed posture pushing into the internal organs. Usually 1 or 2 minutes like that is enough to trigger a bowel movement for many people.
Yeah, love it. That's easy.
Love it. Yeah, it works for Zia. You know?
Next one.
Next one is the 2 vegetables that I think are the least astringent and the most moistening and have a good quality of fiber inside them, is pumpkin and zucchini. Their fiber is very easy to digest. It's not a fiber that's likely to cause gas or bloating or those things. They have a very low allergy ratio compared to many different vegetables out there, and they suit all of the things we've just talked about. They don't have much astringent taste to them. They're not drying in their qualities, and they're not too thick and heavy, but they're heavy enough to be like pumpkin. Yeah, that's a good vegetable at the meal.
And next one is fats.
Next one is fats. So good fats are what we truly oil and lubricate the system with. A lot of constipation is related to dryness that's happened over time, especially if you're getting dry skin at the same time, then it's very likely related to dryness. So getting a good quality oils and fats with each meal. If you're a vegetarian, this becomes even more important. We're probably looking at 1 teaspoon, depending on your constitution, how much oils and fats you can digest, up to 6 teaspoons at every meal. It's 1 to 6 teaspoons at every meal. I would prefer very simple, easy to digest fats and oils that are going to encourage the downward movement. So olive oil, sesame oil, ghee, these would all be in that category. If you're eating meat, then the chances are you're probably receiving enough fats and oils from the meat at those meat meals. Again, due to the thick, heavy, I would reduce meat if there is constipation.
Next,
where are we now? Now we are at
Flax
flax seeds. Yeah. So for flax seeds, I think they're an amazing bowel nourishing food. They have the oily component inside them. They have a mucilage component that makes like a sticky mucus type thing that goes and coats the whole digestive tract to help it heal. They have the fiber component that encourages the bowel movements and encourages good peristalsis. I would say 1 tablespoon, if you can, freshly ground. When it's ground for a long time, it starts to oxidize and not as good anymore. Freshly ground, 1 tablespoon, either on top of a porridge or in a drink, a smoothie, on top of a salad, however you can get it in. Next one is Triphala. We're now getting more into the herbal, more potent medicines. So Triphala is a great medicine. We've done a whole class based on Triphala, so check that out. Triphala is a gentle tonifier for the whole digestive tract. So it has some astringent properties. It strengthens digestion that has ripped apart, where it's got leaky gut and all the foods are moving in and out to the body too easily. So it'll astringe and it'll pull the digestion back together. But even though it astringes the tissues, it pushes through on the inside and means that we're able to clear what's in between the tissues well. So it strengthens all of the three doshas, Vata, Pitta and Kapha. It helps to reduce excess of them. And it works with the colon very specifically. It's a gentle laxative, so some people might not even notice. I'm putting a big window here, 1/2 to 6 teaspoons over the day. They could be taken in small amounts around the meals and then a larger amount at night. Or if you're starting to get fairly regular bowel movements, then just limit it to the night only. For me, I have a bowel movement pretty much every day, so I might 3 or 4 times a week have 1/2 teaspoon before I go to bed, whereas Zia will need to stimulate that a little bit more. She's usually having it every night before she goes to bed. So big window there for how much you need. Slowly increase up to the higher amount, 3, 4 teaspoons, until you get a bowel movement, and then start taking it back, applying all the other lifestyle and food suggestions at the same time.
Yeah. Regarding Triphala, because when we buy it, there's already Triphala in powder and inside the capsule.
Yep.
So you often say that the powder, no matter how disgusting the taste is, it has its own benefits. Can you tell us more on the benefits?
Just as a beginner, this is the beginning of the digestive tract up here in the mouth, yeah? And there's lots of mucous membranes and glands around here. There's lots of tissue here that we want to astringe as well. If there's problems down here, there's probably stuff going on here. So when we use the powder, we're able to take a mouthful and swish it around my mouth. Like I pour a glass of water and I'm swishing that and chewing it. It does not taste nice at all. So if that's too difficult for you and it makes you go through body reactions, we don't want those body reactions either. We don't want your nervous system to have a revolting response to your medicine. That's not medicine for you anymore. That's now creating a stress response in relation to your medicine. So for me, I can take that and go, oh, it doesn't taste nice, but there's no stress response in my body. So great for me to take the powder. And then it's going to have that effect down the esophagus, right into the stomach, all of these mucous membranes up here, it's going to work great on. If you're taking the capsule, that's only going to work from the stomach down. So it has a different effect. The taste of the herb also benefits the body. So we get to taste it and we experience it from the top down.
There's a whole class about Triphala and the great benefits of it, and I will put the link below. And also on the caption below, there's a link to go to our trusted supplier for Ayurvedic herbs, including Triphala. And next one, the last one, what is that?
The last one is castor oil. So now we're looking at, I'm not having regular bowel movements and I need something to get the bowels moving. Castor oil is lubricating to the bowels. So it takes out excess, but it's not going to dry the body. It's not such an addictive laxative. It also moves throughout the whole of the system and pulls away what we call ama, half-digested byproducts. So it's very good if someone has had regular bouts of constipation a lot over their life, then small amounts of castor oil could really help a few times a week. Again, I've put a window here. I put a 1/2 teaspoon to 3 teaspoons. If you've never taken castor oil before, definitely start with a small amount and increase slowly. For some people, a 1/2 teaspoon will give them a big release in the morning. For most people, they'll have to push it up towards the 2 to 3 teaspoons. Again, it doesn't taste so good, so maybe you might want to mix it into a little bit of a nut milk at night. You can mix the castor oil and the triphala together. You can use it as a window like, oh, I've gone 1, 2, 3 days without a movement and I'm building up my triphala and castor oil. Now I take 3 teaspoons of castor oil and 5 teaspoons of triphala and bam, I got my bowel movement. So the next day, I reduce to 1/2 of each, see if I can get another bowel movement. Again, always with the lifestyle and the other suggestions.
And these suggestions that you just shared basically is something that people can do by themselves at home. But if problem keep happening, or let's say might be side effects, because it's just a general advice, then we will always recommend you guys to consult further to practitioners.
Absolutely. Everything that we share is educational knowledge. We're not prescribing anything or telling you to do anything. We're giving you education on ways in which you could do. You should have the proper support for that all the time. So if you don't, seek out practitioners that you can ask questions to as symptoms arise, because catching it early is the best remedy.
If you would like to have a consultation with Kimana, there's a link on the caption below to put your name and email on the waiting list, so we will contact you when Kimana is finally available. Anything else you would like to say?
It's been wonderful to share with you all today. Really appreciate every one of you watching and listening. It really motivates us to share more. So I hope to share with you in the future.
Thank you.
If you'd like to help others heal holistically, or just wishing to have more control in your own self-care, then check out the programs I've created on Ayurvedic.com. I've brought together some of the world's leading health experts, teaching people what I consider to be the 6 most important branches of holistic healing. I really think it's important knowledge for yourself and to share with the world. I hope to see you there. Namaste.
Now, theory without practice is wasteful, because hearing leads to forgetting, teaching leads to remembering, and applying leads to mastering. That's why we will encourage you to leave a comment below and share one learning insight from this video. Also, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe so you will be the first to hear about our future educational videos. And for more resources on health and healing, check out our website holisticnomads.com. There you will find articles, quizzes on Ayurveda, loads of free downloads, and of course our future events and courses. Thank you so much for watching. We hope it's been beneficial for you. Hope to see you next week. Bye! Then in this episode, you will learn on how to poop and feel relief every day.